The Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth is with us this morning. Isn't it about time that you paid up on your bet? You said there was going to be a May election.
I certainly did say there was going to be a May general election. That's because I thought it's either a May general election or a Tory leadership election, and it looks like we could well have a Tory leadership election. But Rishi Sunak chickened out. He's running scared of the British people. We still need that election. He should name the date, but I am going to have to pay up.
You are?
It was for charity, National Association of Children of Alcoholics. And I have for you the cheque here. Here is I am paying up.
National Association for Children of Alcoholics.
And there, it's from the Bank of Chicken, because Rishi Sunak chickened out. He didn't call that general election. After 14 years of Tory failure, people want an election. They know it's time for change. But he chickened out because he's too weak.
Just give me the cheque.
And there we are.
Thank
I promise you. And I've paid them. And for anybody, before anybody tweets me, I have paid the money to the charity as well.
You're a very good man. Thank you very much indeed. Do you want to double down for June? OK, moving on.
Let's think about it.
Yeah, OK. As far as China is concerned, did you hear what you needed to hear yesterday from the Deputy Prime Minister?
Well, it's obviously deeply, deeply worrying. It's a very concerning time. It's chilling, actually, to learn that very senior British parliamentarians have been targeted in the way they have, that there's been this targeting of the Electoral Commission data. That's millions and millions of people's data across the country. Look, we supported the sanctions that were announced yesterday. Both national security and democratic integrity are absolutely the foundation of everything, and we can have no compromise with that. But we're going to have to keep this under review.
So you think the sanctions have gone far enough?
Well, all this stuff...
Two people and a small company in Wuhan?
Well, all of these things need to be looked at. So our Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy...
3 years to look at it.
Well, I know. Well, but what we've said, or David Lammy has said today, our Shadow Foreign Secretary, is that we need a full audit of all UK-China relations. Then we can fully understand what's going on. And obviously, that will give certainty to businesses as well who trade with China. But this is really, really serious, and we should never compromise with national security. I think we've moved a long way from where we were, 10 years ago, when the UK was talking about a new golden age of relations. I think that looks naive now, in retrospect. But
you're having a pop at Lord Cameron, then?
I don't want to make it sound as partisan in that respect, because I think on these matters of national security...
He was having the beer in the pub in the Cotswolds.
Yeah, sure. And there are obviously lots of questions about his financial dealings before he became Foreign Secretary, which he's still not answered. Which he's still not answered.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think on these matters of national security, there has to be a degree of cross-party cooperation.
So are we naive as a country to have trusted China in the way that we did?
I think the way in which we were so excitable 10 years ago talking about this golden era, I think that is naive in retrospect. It's why I think we do need this full audit of all the relations, and we need to give certainty and guidance to businesses who trade with China as well.
We did have the government minister, Gillian Keegan, on the programme this morning, and she was basically saying you just need to improve... She works in tech previously. You just need to improve your own security as an MP.
I hope she wasn't as glib as that. I mean, these are serious matters, but, it is important that, well, not just MPs, that everybody takes their digital security seriously. I mean, I've lost count of the number of people who just sort of use or who tell me, they don't really change their passwords, or they have the same password for every account and things like that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly, all this sort of stuff. I mean, you have got to take this stuff very seriously, and parliamentarians especially have to take it seriously.
What did you make about China dismissing the claims that they're behind the attacks, calling them slanderous? What's Labour's position on that?
Well, I suppose they would say that, wouldn't they? Look, we have no reason to doubt what the government is saying, given that the government's analysis will be based on intelligence and security advice. So we have no reason whatsoever to doubt what the government is saying. And I think it is important that there is a degree of cross-party cooperation on these matters, because it's about national security and the integrity of our democratic system.
I know that the Prime Minister is facing the liaison committee today, which basically is a fancy way of saying all the chairmen of all the other committee and women get together and ask tricky questions of the Prime Minister. What tricky questions do you think he might be asking? I think it's about 90 minutes, isn't it? It's one of those things that they hate the most.
Yeah, well, they should name the date of a general election, because after 14 years of Tory failure...
They're not gonna?
I think the British public are yearning...
14th of November?
For change.
You're not vetting me anymore, OK.
It could be a Tory leadership election before a general election. I might have that bet with you. Although people are going to think I've got a gambling addict out there. I'm not,
Same charity?
Absolutely. But, look, and the second thing is, He has committed his party to a £46 billion unfunded bombshell, which either means more borrowing, putting up mortgages, or it means a new tax rise on pensioners, or it severs the link between contribution and the state pension. It threatens the state pension in the future. Silver Voices, an organisation who campaigns for pensioners, were in the Daily Express a couple of weeks ago, saying this could mean to the means testing of the state pension. Rishi Sunak's got to answer questions on his £46 billion bombshell.
We don't call it silver hair, we call it without colour in my house. Reaction to the UN motion calling for a ceasefire in Gaza?
This has to be a turning point. We've all looked on with absolute horror at the pictures of children under the rubble. We share the anguish of those families who want to see their hostages back. I've wanted a ceasefire for some months now. We need this immediate ceasefire as a matter of urgency. We've got to get the aid into Gaza because we're facing famine for man-made reasons. That is absolutely devastating. I think there are questions now. The government need to provide the legal advice, the legal justification around arms supply as well. And ultimately, we need peace. And ultimately, we've got to work towards a two-state solution and recognition of a Palestinian state. This has to be a turning point. We need that ceasefire. We cannot carry on or allow so many more lives to be lost in the way that we are seeing on our TV screens.
Back home and to my part of the world, Blackpool is going to... We used to always go there on our holidays when we were kids. They've got another by-election that the government is facing. It was your seat previously.
Yeah.
It's up for grabs. Confident?
That we're going to be working really, really hard for every vote there in Blackpool to earn the trust of the people of Blackpool. Got an excellent candidate there as well. A campaign is always tough, but it's a really, really important seat for us. And I think people of Blackpool feel let down after 14 years of the Tories. And you know something? I love Blackpool. Used to go on holiday there as well. We used to get... My dad used to call it the Shara. We used to get all the Sharabang. I don't know if you're...
Yeah, the tram.
We used to get it from,
Fleetwood.
Down
to Squires Gate.
And used to go from... we used to get the coach from Radcliffe, a little town near Bury, to Blackpool. And I still take my kids to Blackpool now.
Do you?
Yeah, every year.
It's a rite of passage.
Eh?
It's a rite of passage.
We go every year to Blackpool.
Back
Love
down
it.
memory lane. You're taking me down into that rabbit hole. I'm going to let you come back out again and tell me, what are you doing to try to make sure that any parliamentary candidate does not fall into the same bear trap that you had with Rochdale?
Well, look, we expect the highest of standards of our parliamentary candidates, and rightly so, given that we've seen all these
what checks have you put in place
Tory
to make
MPs
sure that
kicked
doesn't
out
happen
from
again?
this one in Blackpool and these other ones in Wellingborough. There's been so many, hasn't there, been kicked out? I've lost track of them all. Look, all of our candidates, we are selecting a very, very high quality set of candidates.
But you thought you'd done that with Rochdale.
Yeah, and if we ever find that there is a candidate who has, done something which we don't think is becoming of somebody standing for Parliament, we deal with it, as we did in Rochdale, even though that gave us a bloody nose.
Are there checks and balances in place more now, given what happened in Rochdale, to make sure it doesn't happen
there are checks and balances in place, but also when we are presented with damning evidence where we think standards have fallen, we deal with it. We deal with it. I mean, look, this guy in Blackpool who's only just resigned, this has been going on for months and months and months and months. Why didn't Rishi Sunak deal with it? I'll tell you why he didn't deal with it, because he's so weak and not in control of his party.